I woke up basking in the sun on an estate that had to be thousands of acres. It took me a solid minute to process that a guy who used to sling a hot dog from a street cart, had somehow been dropped into the body of cannon fodder character in a trashy romance novel. According to the book's plot, I was Leo Vance, and my wife, Isabel Croft, was the stunningly beautiful CEO who despised my very existence. We were trapped in a marriage of convenience arranged by our families. I'd been pathetically in love with her for over a decade, but her heart belonged to her childhood sweetheart, the one that got away. My character's role was to do everything possible to keep the main couple apart, failing spectacularly at every turn before ultimately falling off a cliff to my doom. Thinking about it sent a shiver down my spine. The original Leo was nothing more than a stepping stone for their epic love story. A designated loser. If I wanted to live, I couldn't walk the same path. I was just rolling over to get a more even tan when my phone buzzed. It was Isabel. The second I answered, her voice, cold as ice, cut through the phone. Leo Vance, you get your ass over here right now. Then it hit me. Last night, Isabel had demanded a divorce. I'd refused and, in a fit of pathetic rage, had arranged for her precious Ethan Hayes to be kidnapped. Thankfully, Isabel and her bodyguards had shown up before anything serious happened. Ethan only got a few scrapes, but now she was ready to make me pay. My heart hammered against my ribs after I hung up. I'd messed with the love of her life. She was definitely going to kill me. No, I had to run. I had to get out of here. Scrambling to my feet, I sprinted back toward the main house. The estate was so damn big that I was sweating by the time I reached the living room. Isabel and I slept in separate wings of the mansion. She'd forbidden me from ever entering her bedroom, but I knew exactly where she kept her jewelry. The original Leo was just an adopted son of the Vance family, never truly valued, and he'd been cut off from the family fortune. The balance on his debit card was laughably small, so before I made a break for it, I needed to secure some funding. I slipped into her room and immediately grabbed a sapphire necklace. The thing looked like it was worth a fortune. A few of these, and I'd be set for life. While rummaging, I stumbled upon a sketchbook. Curious, I opened it. It was a birthday gift from Leo to Isabel. Page after page was filled with sketches of her, starting from when she was a teenager. Each one was dated and perfectly preserved. It was clear the original Leo was hopelessly in love with her, but it was all worthless in her eyes. I remembered a scene from the book. Just before he died, Leo begged Isabel to look at him one last time, but she didn't give him a single glance, completely focused on Ethan. What a lovesick fool. I put the sketchbook back and grabbed a few more necklaces. Just as I stepped out of the room, cradling my haul, two of Isabel's bodyguards blocked my path. Game over. There was no escaping now. Half an hour later, I was shoved into a private room at an upscale downtown club. When I saw Isabel sitting in the center of the room, I froze. Her face was exquisitely beautiful, her skin flawless. Her chest rose and fell with her anger, accentuating her perfect curves. The woman radiated an aura of aristocratic power, mixed with a subtle, dangerous allure. No wonder the old Leo was obsessed with her. She was, without a doubt, a perfect 10. Ethan Hayes sat beside her. Like every golden boy in these novels, he had a tragic backstory, but was blessed with a handsome face that could melt any woman's heart. The other people in the room were a collection of rich kids, all staring at me with smug, expectant grins. Isabel's voice was arctic. Leo, get on your knees and apologize to Ethan. Ethan gently touched her arm, his tone laced with feigned reluctance. It's okay, Izzy, he know. Isabel snapped, cutting him off. He dared to have you kidnapped. He needs to pay the price. I knew she wouldn't let this go until she had thoroughly humiliated me and avenged her precious Ethan. A wise man knows when to bend, and my life was on the line. Steeling myself, I dropped to my knees with a loud thud. I'm so sorry, Mr. Hayes. I don't know what came over me. It was a moment of madness to have you kidnapped. Isabel was stunned. The rest of the room erupted in shocked murmurs. I looked up, plastering a pathetic look on my face. Do you need me to bow my head in apology? Before anyone could answer, I pressed my forehead to the floor once, twice, 3 times. Enough. Isabel's face was grim as she threw a document onto the table in front of me. Leo Vance, she threatened, her voice low and menacing. If you don't sign this today, I will break your legs. I instinctively glanced down at my own long legs and shuddered. My eyes fell on the papers. Divorce agreement. Of course. This was her real goal. I scrambled to my feet and picked up the agreement, scanning the pages. My eyes widened. What? A settlement of $200 million and 10 properties. Are you kidding me? Is this for real? Tears welled up in my eyes and streamed down my cheeks. I tried to stop them. I really did, but she was offering me so much money. Seeing my tears, Isabel must have thought I was devastated by the divorce. She scowled. Leo, if you don't sign this. Before she could finish her threat, I had already snatched a pen, signed my name with a flourish, and held the papers out to her with both hands. So, when can we go to the courthouse to make it official? Tomorrow morning work for you? Isabel stared at me, completely bewildered. She clearly hadn't expected me to agree so readily. Shock was written all over her face. Leo, you're really agreeing to the divorce? I glanced over at Ethan and sighed dramatically, putting on an air of magnanimity. The love of your life is back. I should know when to quit. It's time I let you two be happy. Although Isabel found it unbelievable, she didn't question it further. For her, the divorce was all that mattered. We agreed to meet the next morning to file the papers. As I walked out of the club, I couldn't resist pulling out the agreement again, carefully counting all the zeros. Holy hell, that was so much money. In my old life, I could have sold hot dogs 24/7 without eating or sleeping and never even come close to this kind of fortune. I wouldn't even have to buy a new place. I could pick one of the 10 properties to live in and rent or sell the rest. A huge, goofy grin spread across my face just thinking about it. Isabel was certainly generous, but for a family as wealthy as the Crofts, this amount was probably just pocket change. I had just gotten back to the estate when my phone rang again. It was Isabel. Come to the family mansion. Now. She hung up before I could reply. I glanced at the time. It was dinner time. Was she inviting me to eat? A powerful family like the Crofts had to have amazing food. My mouth started to water. I immediately got in my car and headed over. The moment I stepped inside the Croft mansion, I could feel the tension in the air. Isabel and Ethan were standing together in the middle of the living room, looking uncomfortable. Isabel's father, Mr. Croft, sat on the sofa, his face a thundercloud as he tapped his cane heavily on the floor. It wasn't hard to guess what was happening. Mr. Croft had found out that Isabel wanted to divorce me for Ethan, and he was furious. Ethan glanced at me before turning back to Mr. Croft. Mr. Croft, you can't force love. Besides, Isabel is already pregnant with my child. I hope you can give us your blessing. Well, damn. So, she had already been cheating on me. 1,000 what the FCKS galloped through my mind. But I didn't remember any pregnancy plot point from the novel. The system must be glitching. The story was just making things up as it went along. Whatever. As long as the money was good, I didn't care what she did. Isabel looked at me, her expression complicated. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but before she could, Mr. Croft slammed a teapot onto the floor, shattering it and splashing tea everywhere. He was trembling with rage, pointing a finger at his daughter. How could I have raised such a shameless daughter? He proceeded to tear into her, using every harsh word imaginable. I stood quietly to the side, saying nothing. Truth be told, I didn't love Isabel, so I didn't feel hurt, just a little annoyed as a man. It was a matter of respect, and Isabel had shown the original Leo none. But then I thought about the $200 million settlement, and my mood instantly improved. After yelling at Isabel, Mr. Croft, perhaps feeling a bit awkward, ordered the staff to throw Ethan out. Although he was furious about the disgrace his daughter had brought upon the family, he had no choice but to agree to the divorce. Probably feeling guilty, he went into a back room and returned with several jade antiques, shoving them into my arms. Tears of gratitude instantly welled in my eyes. I threw my arms around him. Thank you, Dad. The next morning, Isabel and I went to City Hall to file the divorce papers. As soon as we got out of the car, I saw Ethan standing by the entrance. Geez, this guy was like a shadow. He looked different from yesterday, though. There was a smug, superior look in his eyes when he glanced at me. He probably thought that with Isabel pregnant with his child, he had won completely. Whatever. I wasn't the old Leo. I had no interest in fighting him for Isabel. I just wanted my money so I could retire and live the easy life. It wasn't too busy at the clerk's office, and our number was called quickly. 10 minutes later, Isabel and I walked out, looking dejected. Ethan rushed up to us. Izzy, did you get it? Is it done? Isabel shook her head. No. Ethan's brow furrowed, and he shot me a hostile glare. Why not? Did Leo back out? Is he refusing to divorce? I roll my eyes. Clearly, you've never been divorced before. There's a mandatory 30-day cooling-off period. We have to come back in a month. I had just learned about this from a clerk. So annoying. Lost in my own disappointment, I didn't notice the fleeting, evasive look in Ethan's eyes. He then raised his voice, almost shouting, "Of course I've never been divorced." I was speechless. Why are you yelling? I couldn't care less about your marital history. Ethan glared at me. Leo Vance, I'm warning you. When the time comes, you'd better show up and sign those papers. Don't even think about backing out. I smirked. Fine by me. Whoever backs out is a dog. Hearing that, Isabel's face turned an ugly shade of green. But I couldn't be bothered with her mood. I just walked away. To make sure nothing jeopardized my settlement, I made a point of showing up in front of Isabel every day to annoy her and remind her how much she wanted to be rid of me. And hey, if I could squeeze a little more out of her, why not? I'd suffered through years of unrequited love for her sake. A little extra material compensation was only fair. Money, after all, was always welcome. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore and threw a black card at me. Just get lost. I looked down at the Amex Centurion card in my hand, unable to suppress a grin. You got it. I'm gone. The delay in getting the divorce certificate was frustrating, so I decided to console myself. I went to a Lamborghini dealership and drove away in a brand new Revuelto, paid for with Isabel's card. For all her faults, she had never been stingy with the original Leo, which was one of her few redeeming qualities. Cruising down the street in the supercar, I was turning heads everywhere. A hot car and a handsome guy. Who wouldn't look? Next, I went to a hospital for a full physical. I had to make sure I'd be healthy enough to enjoy my future riches. As I was leaving the hospital, I heard someone call my name. Leo. I looked up. The woman standing in front of me was Chloe Reed. She and the original Leo were childhood friends, and she'd had a crush on him for years. But he'd been too blind to see it, determined to hang himself on the branch of Isabel's tree. For that reason, she and Isabel did not get along. After I married Isabel, Chloe had kept her distance. I shook my head internally. The original Leo was a real idiot for passing up a sweet, pretty girl like this. Are you feeling okay? Chloe asked. Yeah, just a routine checkup, I said, looking at her. What about you? Chloe held up a paper bag. I'm picking up my dad's heart medication. She paused, then added, I heard you and Isabel are getting a divorce. I nodded. Yeah, she's pregnant with Ethan Hayes' kid. Why stick around? Is a holiday I don't know about. Chloe's eyes widened in surprise, but then a flicker of understanding crossed her face as she studied me. Leo, I haven't seen you in a while. You seem different. You used to be so hung up on Isabel. Her gaze was probing, and a jolt of panic shot through me. I cleared my throat to cover my unease. I chased her for years and got nothing back. I'm tired, you know. She can be with whoever she wants. I can't waste my whole life on one person. I'm handsome. I'm rich. There are plenty of fish in the sea. Why stay hung up on one? Chloe kept staring at me, her eyes filled with suspicion as if she was trying to see right through me. To ease my own anxiety, I forced a laugh. Hey, I just remembered I have something urgent to take care of. I gotta run. I'll buy you dinner sometime. Okay. This girl was too sharp. If I stuck around any longer, she might figure something out. With that, I made a quick exit. 28 days to go. My life became a blissful cycle of eating, drinking, and shopping. I also started packing, taking anything of value I could. Every luxury item could be sold for a nice profit later. The moment the cooling-off period ended, I called Isabel to remind her it was time to finalize the divorce. She frowned, her eyes filled with confusion. Leo, why do you seem more eager to get divorced than I am? I was baffled. What man would be happy wearing the label of cuckold? Of course I was eager. Did she think I was an idiot? I'm just thinking of you, I said, spreading my hands. If we don't hurry this up, what about the baby? Whose name is going on the birth certificate? It sure as hell isn't going to be mine. Isabel fell silent for a few seconds, her lips parting as if she was about to say something. I cut her off immediately. Nope, don't say a word. The bottom line is, the kid is not going on my birth certificate. I have no interest in being a surprise dad. Her expression soured, but she didn't argue. As Isabel and I headed to the parking garage, her phone suddenly rang. I couldn't hear what the other person said, but her face turned pale. After she hung up, she grabbed my arm, her expression tense. Ethan's gone. Was this your doing? Where did you take him? Ethan was missing. I quickly shook my head. It wasn't me. I've been out shopping all day. I haven't seen him. Isabel didn't believe a word of it. Impossible. It has to be you. You don't want this divorce, so you hid him somewhere. Leo, you're despicable. I just stared at her, speechless, as another herd of imaginary profanities stampeded through my mind. Sure, the old Leo had hurt Ethan before, but I was Leo now. I was busy making money and enjoying life. I didn't have time for this kind of petty drama. Still, I didn't want anything bad to happen to Ethan either. If it did, Isabel would blame me, and the divorce could get messy. Don't jump to conclusions, I said, trying to be patient. How do you know he's missing? Have you looked for him carefully? She glared at me. Ethan and I had a lunch date. My driver went to pick him up an hour ago, but he's not answering his phone, and he's not at his apartment. I thought for a moment. Take me to his place. Maybe we can find a clue. Isabel stared at me for a long moment before saying through gritted teeth, "Leo, if anything happens to Ethan, I will never forgive you." At this point, I was too tired to argue. Finding the guy was the priority, just to keep myself out of trouble. When we arrived at Ethan's apartment, I did a quick sweep of the place, but found nothing out of the ordinary. Did the guy just vanish into thin air? Maybe he got transmigrated into a novel as cannon fodder, just like me. Isabel's glare intensified. "Leo, if you're trying to pull something." Suddenly, I heard a faint noise. "Hold on," I said, cutting her off as I rushed toward the bathroom. I threw the door open, and there was Ethan slumped next to the toilet, sleeping like a log and reeking of alcohol. Isabel hurried past me and knelt beside him. Ethan, wake up." He slowly opened his eyes. "Izzy, what are you doing here? We had a lunch date, remember?" Ethan leaned against the wall to stand up, rubbing his temples. "Sorry, I forgot. I was out with friends last night, drank too much." I turned to Isabel's bodyguards. "You guys didn't check the bathroom?" The guards lowered their heads. "We didn't think he'd be in here, sir." "Fair enough. Who would think to look for someone sleeping next to a toilet?" The guy had some weird hobbies. Isabel spun on her bodyguards. "You're all useless. You can't even find one person." I rolled my eyes, and she was supposed to be some brilliant business magnate. "Hey, soon-to-be ex-wife," I said, my voice dripping with exasperation. "Next time, maybe get your facts straight before you start throwing around accusations, okay?" I've been freaking out for nothing, and now it was my turn to be pissed. Before Isabel could respond, Ethan jumped in. "If you hadn't kidnapped me last time, Izzy wouldn't be so suspicious of you." I let out a bitter laugh. Right, my fault. But hey, next time you feel like napping on the toilet, give everyone a heads up so you don't scare the hell out of us. "You." Ethan's face flushed with anger. I couldn't be bothered with this clown. I turned to Isabel. "Let's go. Let's get this over with. Don't waste any more time. Don't delay my payday." The clerk's office was packed today. We had to wait in line forever. But finally, we got the divorce certificate. The money and properties were officially mine. I was finally free. From now on, I was going to live a life of luxury and reach the pinnacle of existence. Isabel noticed the unstoppable smile on my face and frowned. "Leo, what are you smiling about?" I had endured so much humiliation and finally made it out. I would never have to put up with this nonsense again. Of course I was happy, but I couldn't be bothered to explain it to her. "Nothing," I said dismissively. "If that's all, I'm leaving." That same day, I moved out of the estate and into a sprawling penthouse in the city. It wasn't as massive as the estate, but for one person, it was perfect. I rented out all the other properties, and the passive income alone was more than enough to live comfortably. When the Vance family found out about the divorce, they were furious. They called and demanded I go back and beg Isabel to take me back. In their eyes, I was just a pawn to tie them to the Croft family's wealth. I ignored them and blocked every last one of their numbers. What a joke. They could find someone else to be their cannon fodder. I was just here to enjoy my life. That night, I went to a bar. Life is short. You should enjoy it while you can. I'd only had 2 drinks when I ran into Chloe Reed. "Leo, you're at a bar." Chloe's surprise was understandable. The original Leo would never have set foot in a place like this. I pulled the divorce certificate from my pocket and showed it to her. A guy gets divorced, he's got to celebrate, right? Chloe glanced at the certificate and smiled. "Well, in that case, can I join you for a drink?" A sly idea popped into my head. "How about you treat me? I've got to start saving up. I might want to get married again someday." The Reeds were just as wealthy as the Crofts, and Chloe was an only child. Her money would last for generations. I'd just be doing her a favor by helping her spend some of it. Chloe sat down, resting her chin on her hand as she looked at me. Isabel might be a questionable person, but I doubt she was stingy with the settlement. I chuckled. "Oh, definitely not. But I'll need a nest egg for my future wife, won't I?" Chloe raised an eyebrow. "You just got divorced, and you're already thinking about remarrying? What? Am I supposed to stay celibate for her?" I scoffed. "No way. She's ancient history to me." Something I said must have pleased her, because she said cheerfully, "All right, order whatever you want tonight. It's on me." I was ecstatic and immediately ordered a bottle of ridiculously expensive vintage whiskey. The next day, I woke up in a hotel bed. Next to me was Chloe. I shot up in a panic and checked under my shirt. Thank God, nothing happened. Chloe woke up too, glanced at me, and complained, "If you can't handle your liquor, don't drink so much. It was a workout getting you here last night. You're heavy." She shook her arm for emphasis. So I got blackout drunk. Chloe had brought me to a nearby hotel to look after me, and had been so worried I might get sick in the night that she hadn't left, eventually falling asleep. Looking at Chloe, I suddenly thought she was a million times more reliable than Isabel. I remembered a time when Leo and Isabel had fought. He had gotten wasted. And not only did Isabel not care, She had her bodyguards throw him out of the mansion to sleep on the lawn. After that night, Leo swore he would never drink again. Chloe and I got ready and checked out. Just as we stepped out of the hotel, I saw Isabel not far away. Ethan was standing next to her, looking sharp in a tailored suit. Isabel was probably here to meet a client. After all, this was a hotel owned by the Croft Group. Chloe, thinking I hadn't seen them, nudged my arm and motioned with her head. I shrugged. A good ex is a dead ex. No need to say hi. As cannon fodder, I was no match for the main characters. It was better to stay far away from them. Isabel's gaze lingered on me for a few seconds. She then turned and said something to Ethan. A flash of anger crossed his face, but he got into a car by himself and drove away. Isabel walked toward us, her expression dark. I need to speak with you alone. Before I could answer, Chloe said to me, I'll wait for you in the car. She then headed toward the parking lot. What's up, Ms. Croft? I asked. Her eyes were sharp as they bore into me. What's going on between you and Chloe Reed? I wanted to roll my eyes. As my ex-wife, what right did she have to question me? I answered lazily, whatever you think is going on, I guess. Perhaps startled by my new attitude, Isabel bit her lip. I wasn't pregnant. Not pregnant? So Ethan had lied to get her father to agree to the divorce. But what did it matter? Her heart was with him anyway. Pregnant or not, it made no difference. I just said, oh, well, then you and Mr. He should get to work on that. Hope you get pregnant soon. Isabel was taken aback. What did you just say? She asked, her voice filled with disbelief. I thought she was ridiculous. You don't find many ex-husbands this generous. What more could she want? You've always wanted to be with Ethan, right? Now you can finally have your wish. I wish you both the best. Isabel was silent. I thought she was done, so I started to leave, but she called out Leo. I turned back. Is there something else? My tone was polite, but the message was clear. Isabel's expression was strange. I'll give you a ride home. I waved her off, pointing toward the street. No need. Chloe's giving me a ride. Without waiting for her reaction, I walked away. Once in the car, I glanced back at Isabel. She was still standing in the same spot. Chloe eyed me sideways. You're not still hung up on her, are you? What are you talking about? I said, rubbing my eyes. Quick, help me see. That girl in the short skirt up ahead, isn't she gorgeous? My head still a little fuzzy from the alcohol. Chloe rolled her eyes at me. And here I thought you were still pining for Isabel. Turns out you've already moved on to the next one. I'd have to be crazy to still be hung up on Isabel. I'm not a hopeless romantic, and besides, she's bad luck for me. Maybe she was the reason the original Leo died, which is how I got here in the first place. Chloe couldn't help but laugh. I looked at her and I had to admit, she had a beautiful laugh. The next couple of weeks were incredible. I traveled, saw the world, and finally understood why everyone wants to be rich. The easy life is an amazing life. When I got back, Chloe came over to my place to see me. She came bearing news. Apparently, Ethan had been married to a rich, older woman overseas. But then the woman found someone younger and more handsome and dumped him. He had only come back to the States to get back with Isabel after his divorce. No wonder he'd been so defensive when the topic of divorce came up. Isabel had found out he'd deceived her. They'd had a huge fight, and she had accidentally fallen down a flight of stairs. She's in the hospital, Chloe said, watching me closely. If you want to get back together with her, now's your chance to play the hero. Chloe had seen me pine after Isabel for over a decade. She naturally assumed I still had feelings for her. Are you kidding me? I said with disgust. I'd like to live a long life. Getting back with her would probably shave off a few years. Suddenly, my phone, sitting on the table, started ringing. It was Isabel. I picked it up. Hello. Isabel's voice came through, hoarse and weak. Leo, I'm in the hospital. And what does that have to do with me? I'm not your father. But out loud, I said, oh, well, get some rest. Leo, aren't you going to come see me? Then it clicked. 2 years ago, Isabel had been in a car accident. During her hospital stay, the original Leo had been by her side constantly, more attentive than any nurse. But even then, she treated him like dirt. Was she calling me now, expecting me to rush to her bedside? In her dreams. We're divorced, I said flatly. There's no reason for us to be in contact, let alone for me to visit you in the hospital. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. After I ended the call, I noticed Chloe was staring at me. Didn't you say last time that you'd buy me dinner? She asked. I had just said it casually, but I was surprised she remembered. All right, I said. I'll go get groceries. We can eat here. Chloe blinked. You can cook. The original Leo certainly couldn't. But I could. It's not that hard, I said. You wait here. I'll be right back. I'm going to make you a feast. Plus, it would save money. If we ate out, she'd probably stick me with a bill for a few grand. 2 hours later, seeing the spread on the dining table, Chloe gave me a thumbs up. Wow, This is Michelin star level. I had no idea you had this talent. Chloe picked up her chopsticks and took a bite. This is amazing, she said between mouthfuls. It's even better than what my family's chef makes. Someone like her, a pampered heiress used to the finest cuisine, would naturally appreciate a simple, home-cooked meal. Seeing her so happy gave me a sense of satisfaction. Accidentally, a chopstick fell to the floor. We both bent down to get it at the same time. The moment our fingers touched, we both froze. Chloe's face flushed red. She was blushing. She tried to pull her hand back, but I caught it. Chloe! She looked up at me, her eyes sparkling. To be honest, my heart was pounding, especially with her staring at me like that. Compared to Isabel's cold, untouchable demeanor, I liked Chloe so much more. She seemed feisty on the outside, but underneath she was gentle and feminine. In my old life, I was just a single guy with no dating experience. Being this close to a girl made my palms sweat. My throat felt dry. I could smell the faint scent of her perfume, and when my hand brushed against her soft waist, I could feel the rapid rise and fall of her chest. She looked up at me, her eyes full of anticipation. Chloe! My voice came out raspy. On impulse, I leaned in. My lips brushed against her hot cheek. She clutched my shirt, and, just as I was about to pull away, she whispered in my ear, "Kiss me." Just then, the doorbell rang. I went to the door. I never expected to see Isabel standing there. She had lost a lot of weight and looked pale and exhausted. A bandage was wrapped around her head. Her usual sharp aura was replaced by a fragile, almost pitiful look. I shook my head internally. She got played by a jerk, and she let herself fall apart like this? So the high and mighty CEO was a lovesick fool after all. Her voice choked with emotion. I saw the sketchbook. I finally understand how much you used to love me. I'm so sorry, Leo. I was wrong. Can you forgive me? It was true. The old Leo had loved her deeply. The dated sketches were proof of a decade-long obsession. When I didn't answer, she started to cry, fat tears rolling down her cheeks. Leo, I regret it. I never should have divorced you. I've been thinking about you every day. Can you come back to me? The old Leo would have probably melted and wiped her tears away. But I wasn't him. Watching her sob, I just felt annoyed. Isabel, there are no do-overs in life. It's impossible for us. Isabel grew frantic and was about to say more when her gaze fell on something behind me. Chloe had come to stand by my side. She wrapped her arms around my waist and looked up at me with a smile. Leo, those braised short ribs you made were to die for. I could eat 3 bowls of rice with them. I looked down at her, my voice softening unconsciously. If you like them, you can have them every day. Chloe turned to Isabel, a sweet smile on her lips. Ms. Croft, since you're here, won't you come in and join us? Isabel's face went white. Her eyes darted between our intertwined hands. She opened her mouth, but in the end, said nothing. She turned and stumbled away. Watching her leave, I couldn't help but think. The once invincible business titan, now brought to her knees by love. How the tables have turned. Suddenly, a sharp pinch at my waist brought me back. I looked down to see Chloe glaring at me. What was that sentimental look for? You're not still hung up on her, are you? Don't forget, you were just about to. I chuckled and pinched her cheek. What are you thinking? I couldn't be happier. I was just afraid you were going to change your mind and not want me. Chloe's face turned beet red, and the next second, she threw herself into my arms. I held her tightly. This was so much better than any of the luxury goods Isabel had given me. After Chloe and I made our relationship official, she took me home to meet her parents. Knowing her father had a heart condition, I made sure to bring him the best imported health supplements I could find. Mr. and Mrs. Ree were very fond of me. They didn't care at all that I was divorced. They chatted with me for a long time and even asked when we were planning to get married. Chloe isn't getting any younger, her mother said. If you two are serious, it would be wonderful to have a wedding soon. I took Chloe's hand, saw the hopeful look in her eyes, and said seriously, next month, I want to marry Chloe as soon as possible. Mr. and Mrs. Reed beamed, nodding enthusiastically. After a bit more conversation, they went upstairs to rest. Chloe looked at me, a little nervous. You told my parents we'd get married next month. Are we? Before she could finish, I pulled a small Tiffany blue box from my pocket. I opened it to reveal a dazzling diamond ring. I had bought it before coming over. I didn't want to lose Chloe, so I wanted to get married quickly. I looked at her and asked solemnly, Chloe, will you marry me? It was a 10-carat diamond, sparkling brilliantly under the light. I could be a bit cheap in my daily life, but marrying the woman I loved was not something I would skimp on. Chloe was so moved, she started to cry. I smiled and wiped her tears away, but she playfully slapped my hand. I was stunned for a second, then I heard her say, "What are you wiping my tears for? Hurry up and put the ring on my finger." She was afraid I'd change my mind. I laughed and carefully slid the ring onto her finger. Chloe threw her arms around me in excitement, and I held her tight. Getting married next month was a bit rushed, so I had to get started on the wedding preparations right away. The next morning, I went with Chloe to a bridal boutique. After she chose a dress, she went into the fitting room to change. I sat on a sofa to wait. Suddenly, I felt a pair of eyes on me. I looked up and saw Isabel standing not far away, her face pale as she stared at me. She approached, her voice trembling. "Are you really going to marry Chloe?" I nodded firmly. "Yes. The date is set for next month." A look of pain crossed her face. "Can you not marry her?" Isabel, I interrupted, looking her straight in the eye. "You don't love me. You're just seeing me with someone else, and your possessiveness is kicking in." Tears welled in her eyes as she denied it. "No, that's not it. I always thought I loved Ethan, but after the divorce, I realized I was wrong. I regret it. I miss you. I love you." I didn't want Chloe to come out and see Isabel here, ruining her good mood, so I said bluntly, "Even if you regret it now, it has nothing to do with me anymore. Isabel, my heart belongs to Chloe now. I only want to be with her." Tears streamed down her face. I added, "Look, I see you crying right now, and I feel nothing. Don't you get it? I don't love you anymore." Isabel froze, her body rigid. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. After a few seconds of silence, she bit her lip and turned to leave. Outside, a storm had begun to rage. Isabel didn't have an umbrella, and she let the rain soak her, making her look utterly wretched and defeated. I had never seen her like this. She was always so proud, so untouchable. Now, she looked like a butterfly with broken wings, fragile and broken. But I felt nothing. Just then, Chloe stepped out of the fitting room in her wedding dress. The gown was ethereal, her smile radiant. She nearly blinded me. "Wow, honey, you are so beautiful. Absolutely stunning," I said, my voice filled with awe. Chloe blushed. "You're just a smooth talker." I wrapped my arm around her waist. "I'm telling the truth," I said earnestly. "In my eyes, you're the most beautiful thing in the world." For me, Chloe was the woman I was meant to love, the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. Soon, it was our wedding day. Chloe and I were both excited and incredibly happy. When she walked down the aisle on her father's arm, my eyes grew misty. After the ceremony, I lifted Chloe into my arms, ready to carry her home. Out of the corner of my eye, I thought I saw Isabel's figure. She was standing in a corner outside the church, watching us from a distance. But I didn't care about her. I looked down at Chloe in my arms and smiled, a joyous and contented smile. "Let's go home, wife." From that day forward, my life was only about the woman in my arms. My heart and my eyes were filled with only my new bride.